This is Mathew Mari, and our guest today is Andy Thibault, that's spelled Thibault, a veteran newspaper editor and columnist who also worked for many years as a private investigator and is the author of award-winning newspaper columns, which many have been compiled in the website cooljustice.com. But Andy is here today to talk about his new book, You Thought It Was More: The Adventures of the World's Greatest Counterfeiter, Louis the Coin, as seen on the History Channel and the BBC. Andy, welcome to the Mathew Mari Show.
Great to be with you, Matthew. Thanks for your hospitality.
You know, Andy, your resume is so extensive that it would take us about 8 hours to go through it all. But why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and why you did this new book, You Thought It Was More?
Okay, well, just a quick note, the website you referenced is actually morecooljustice.com, if anybody cares to look it up. But louisthecoinbook.com is the news site, and we're very grateful to the Assistant U.S. Attorney in Providence, Gerard Sullivan, for his sentencing memo on Louis. And I say that because it affirms and documents with footnotes the core, if not the entirety of the book.
And by the way, let me just intervene. I have that memo in front of me. Thanks for sending it. And it's that memo is United States of America against Louis Colavecchio. And I have to say, as a criminal defense lawyer for 43 years, I've never seen such a complimentary government memo relating to the sentencing of someone charged with a crime.
Yeah, I don't know if that was their intention, but it sure came out that way.
That's probably the basis for the book. So tell us a little more about the book. You Thought It Was More.
Yeah, Louis the Coin, louisthecoinbook.com. I would say around 14 or so years ago, plus or minus 1 or 2, I got a call from Louis out of the blue. And I had written a prior column for the Connecticut Law Tribune about his exploits. And he had a manuscript that needed a lot of work. So I called in a buddy of mine, Franz Dusky, who's a poet and author who teaches at Gateway Community College in Connecticut. And we worked on it for quite a few years. Franz rewrote it, and I gave it a shot to rewrite and edit. It's not like perfect or a work of art, but I believe, like Louis, it's very entertaining. And it names a lot of names.
Now, when you talk about the adventures of the world's greatest counterfeiter, and you talk about the History Channel and the BBC, well, what do you have going? Is there a documentary on this issue?
Yes, sir, there are.
Tell us.
You can, I'm not sure how you can get the originals. I posted some fair use excerpts at louisthecoinbook.com, and they were just impressed with the quality of his work. If I may get back to the sentencing memo, the Assistant U.S. Attorney quotes this from Louis. Did I really sit at the right hand of Raymond in Providence? Did I really soak the sheets with red wine in a week of partying with 3 young women in Rome? Did that police chief really thank me for fixing my speeding ticket going 140 miles per hour in a Lamborghini after the event made the nightly news? I mean, anybody who meets Louis gets a good laugh and is entertained.
So it seems that your friend, Louis the Coin, has had quite an extensive criminal career. Has he done any time in jail?
He did 2 years in Fort Dix in New Jersey, I believe, in the late 90s. And he had a run-in about a year ago that I didn't know about right away. And I knew something was a little off with him because he wasn't able to show up for an event, Rotary luncheon in Connecticut. But it turns out he was arrested about a year ago, and he told the court and the judge, I only used the cocaine for sex, which they didn't mind as much as the 40 grand in hundreds he had just cooked up in his apartment. So he's doing time now in Butner, North Carolina, which was the initial, if not the current, home for Bertie Madoff.
Yeah, well, Butner is a place for people who are pretty sick. I mean, you have to have a serious medical condition to get into Butner.
Louis has a lot of health problems. He's 77, and some of them his health problems are very serious, but he keeps on plugging away.
Now, before you wrote this book about Louis the Coin, you thought it was more. You've done a lot of other things. So tell us, before we get to the break, when you hear the music, we'll be going to the break. Tell us a little bit about your illustrious career.
Well, I was a paper boy, and my heroes were the sports writers, and then I got to be one for the Norwich Bulletin and Groton News in Eastern Connecticut. My first story was Pee Wee Football Roundup, and I got to shake hands with Yogi Berra on a field trip with the Connecticut Sports Writers Alliance when he managed the Mets.
Me too.
That was a lot of fun.
I met Yogi when he was the manager of the Yankees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a nice guy. I mean, gets a million people in line to say hi to him. He's still very gracious, Then I covered a hit-and-run case, cover-up in New London, Connecticut, involving a former mayor and a judge, and that really opened my eyes as to how things work in the so-called criminal justice system.
What's your, in a sentence or two, what's your summation about the criminal justice system?
Well, money and connections talk, and those are the people who get to walk.
Well, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about your book, You Thought It Was More, and then we're going to get to your website, I think, More Cool Justice. Welcome back to the Mathew Mari Show. This is Mathew J. Mari, and our guest today is Andy Thibault, and you spell that capital Thibault. Andy's book is You Thought It Was More, The Adventure of the World's Greatest Counterfeiter, Louis the Coin, as seen on the History Channel and the BBC. By the way, Louis the Coin, his real name is Louis Colavecchio. So, before we get to what you're doing now, Andy, just to finish off on the book, where can people get this book?
Well, you can get it at any bookstore, but at the website there's a button for Amazon at louisthecoinbook.com. We're hoping to put up a new button where we can get inscribed copies and or messages from Louis. It's tough to communicate with Louis at this time because of where he is, but I have gotten a couple letters and a phone call so far.
Okay, let's hope that Louis is feeling fine, because usually when you're over at Butner, North Carolina, means you're not feeling too well, and one too many of my clients have passed away at that institution. But let's let's move on now to what you're doing. And is the morecooljustice.com, is that really where people could plug into you and hear about all the things that you're doing?
Well, that's basically the site for a second collection of newspaper columns that I wrote for the Connecticut Law Tribune and the Old New Haven Register Group. And the main item there is about a woman who was wrongly accused of first-degree murder of someone she had never met. And I was able to find a long-suppressed document written by someone who became a judge that showed she got an unfair trial, incompetent defense, and based on the publication of that memo, the Board of Pardons and Paroles granted her a clemency hearing. She should have done like 10 years for manslaughter after being maybe sentenced to 20, but they sentenced her to 45 years, and she served 27 and a half.
Wow, that's time. That's real time. I mean, Louis the Coin, with all the stuff that he did, he only put in, 2 years in jail so far?
Yeah, 2 years plus now, but, you thought it was a code word. I'm with the Providence office. I'm with Raymond Patriarca, one of the most powerful mob bosses in U.S. history. And Louis was not a made man, he was talent, but he sat at the right hand of Raymond in the inner circle.
Well, I guess by him saying that cost him a little bit, cost him some time in jail. Because, if you say you're friends with someone that the government believes is involved in organized crime, that means they're going to black you out. That means they're going to do it to you.
I don't know if you've done any work in Rhode Island, but things are still a little different there.
Yeah. Well, now, getting away from that and going into the future, what are your next projects on the horizon that you're working on, or you're thinking of working on?
Well, if I may, Matthew, I just want to say quickly that I'm very proud to serve with some of the hardest working news people in the daily newspaper business. I've been working as a city editor for the Daily in Waterbury, Connecticut for about 15 months, and it's really a pleasure to work with the crew I work with, and they perform miracles on a daily, if not hourly basis.
Well, it's nice to know that there are some newspapers who are trying to do something good instead of newspapers that are just trying to take our country down.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to say about that, but as far as going forward, for me, I started as a sports writer. I get the itch to write sports stories now and then, and I struggle to keep up with the daily workload of trying to be a good editor, and if I ever get extra energy, I'd probably try to do a little bit more writing again.
Okay, so I want to thank you so much for being on the Mathew Mari Show this Thursday afternoon. Andy Tebow, your book is You Thought It Was More of the Adventures of Louis the Coin. So thanks a lot again. Great to have you on the Mathew Mari Show.
Thank you, Matt.